G'day, legends. Welcome back to Roadside, presented by Zwift. This is the Tour de France lift out. We're doing stages 13 and 14 and 15 is happening right now as we are recording, but it is a breakaway stage. Nothing special about this particular one. Into the rest day as well. We've had the Pogacar perfection in the Pyrenees, haven't we, Tommy? He's been dominating across the last few days. We've seen Remco go home, and we've seen, a lot of mountains and a lot of action in the GC this week, haven't we, Tom?
Yeah, we were, mate. You were calling for it. You were begging for some big mountain stages. You were hanging out, particularly after what happened in the Giro, where they set up really another race of two halves. I've lost my voice from shouting at the football all last. Yeah, Pog, he is just he's solidified himself as the best rider of maybe one of the best rider, or if not the best rider, hasn't he?
Yeah, it goes without saying he is, and he's getting closer to Cavendish's record as well. He's on 21 stages now, so only 15 to go, and he's every chance of collecting 3 or 4 more as we head to the third week of this Grand Tour. And I'm looking forward actually this week to Mount Ventoux. There's a very interesting stage. I think it's Wednesday, or it might even be Tuesday, Wednesday after the rest day, but they just do a flat, boring run-in. It's a proper hockey stick Dumoulin stage, and then they just go straight up Mount Ventoux. So that is going to be very good. The Tour de France coverage, big thanks to Quadlock, who are looking after us for this year's Tour de France. Lift out, everyone. Roadside 10. Use that code. Buy yourself a phone case. Support the pod if you can, and make sure you comment on the reel as well after the tour. On our recap of the entire tour, we'll give away the $200 Quadlock voucher. So make sure you do that. Now, Thursday as well is going to be our next live stream. So we will be live streaming on Thursday's Queen stage, or one of 2 Queen stages. We'll do the first hour of the stage 17. So you can join us on YouTube and put that in your calendar. And hopefully we'll get another rest day recap from Ben O'Connor, the great man, if we twist his arm enough, Tommy. So that's going to be a pretty good start this week.
Back of shelters when he gets back to Perth. We'll square him up one way or another. No, Thursday is going to be a big one, isn't it, mate? From Vif to Courchevel. We know how iconic we've seen the Courchevel climb used in the past, so it's going to be good.
Thursday and Friday, they're 2 massive days you cannot miss. We may see a 10-minute gap in first to second. But, Tommy, let's get stuck into this episode. Lots to discuss, lots to talk about. This is Roadside, presented by Zwift. So, Tommy, the current jersey wearers, as of stage 15 as we're speaking, we don't anticipate anything to change on today's stage that we're recording right now. The GC jersey, leader's jersey, Malajon, is Pogacar. He's got a 4-minute and 13-second lead to Jonas Vingegaard, and Florian Lipowitz moves up the German into third place at 7:53 back from Pogacar. Milan still remains in the sprint jersey. He's looking pretty comfortable there. Lipowitz takes the white jersey and the polka dots. Right now is the smallest man in the peloton, Lenny Martinez, who is doing a pretty good job. Lenny, he is doing a good job. You forget which team he bloody rides for. Where is he with? Bahrain?
Bahrain. Yeah. He's keeping them. He's keeping them, making sure they're not going to go away with nothing. Because the stage win for them at the moment is going to be dubious. Although I say that tonight probably suits the likes of Mohoric and Fred Wright.
Yeah, it's a good call. Good old Bahrain. They love the old 6-year-olds building their stadium, don't they? The great state.
There goes any future sponsorships out of the great state of Bahrain.
Oh, we don't want their money now.
I'll take 13. Money. I'll take their money.
Stage 13, it was the Pog show, wasn't it? It was a fantastic stage, and he took another 23 seconds on Jonas. It was the big TT. It was a very entertaining TT to watch as well, because we saw Luke Plapp come out very early as one of the, closer to the last place on GC, and he set a storming time. We'll talk about that in a little bit more detail soon as we go through it. And then we were just watching the contenders, and and the different setups that the different riders were rolling with. Tobias Foss in this TT, he had the deeper front wheel with the shallow rear wheel, no disc. Plappy rode the disc on his bike and the aero helmet. In fact, it was funny enough, they brought Luke Plapp onto the SBS coverage, and he said that he used Durbo's National Champs helmet so he could use that for his TT. We saw Remco have a stinker, didn't we, Tommy? He lost 2 minutes plus to Pogacar.
Yeah, the beginning of the end, wasn't it, for Remco, this time trial?
And
we saw him obviously lose time on Hawthorne, but then this really, in an isolated, in a stage that you go, oh, Remco actually could probably do some good here. Yes, it's a mountain time trial, but it's a chance for him to be able to pace his effort and see where he stacks up against the big two. And yeah, he just got his doors blown off, didn't he?
Yeah, he said that he felt terrible basically as soon as he hit the climb. He said he warmed up well. He ran the TT bike as you would expect, and he ended up getting passed by Jonas Vingegaard in the final few meters of his TT. And I really loved, by the way, that final 800 meters on the climb was beautiful and brutal, wasn't it?
On the the Ultraport, so where they actually land and they bring planes to come in and land. We've seen it used previously on other climbs as well, like where we've seen Roman Bardet win a famous stage ahead of Big Froome Dog. It just, I think it was something like a minute or a minute and a half in the last 200 meters, which you just you look at it and it was just filthy, just groveling up it. Most interestingly enough as well, I thought the race jury before the stage, they changed the time cut. They pushed it back out to 40%. There was a lot of question marks about this. So ASO, or the race jury at least, commissaires, obviously there was going to be touch and go. And I actually said before this year's tour, and I said there'd be some riders who would miss time cut on this stage if Pog and Jonas are flying. And there would have been riders who would have missed the time cut if it hadn't been shifted. Like Merlier would have missed the time cut. And Wout van Aert, he was one of the riders who was quite annoyed in the peloton, and rightly so.
Yes, those riders were actually Mauro Schmidt, Biniam Gourmet, Arnold Demar. Can't even believe he's still. I didn't even know he was here. Elmar Reindeers, Tim Merlier, and Luka Mezgec. They all would have been eliminated had they kept the same dates. And it's just
unless that's them riding to the time cut and the adjusted time cut. But they still would have been close. They still would have been very close to the time cut.
Yeah. 8 minutes 28 down, they were riding at. And you think the UCI, they just do this all the time. Geez, they suck. They just change rules willy-nilly. They don't have rules that should be there. They create rules that shouldn't. It's just a disaster class, UCI. Their initials should stand for just wear shit. That's what it really should be. So it was just bizarre set up by then. We'll run through the top 10 of that TT because it was a very interesting one. Of course, the first 2 or 3 Ks were flat, and then we had the climb itself, which was around about 21 minutes for the fast guys. But Pogacar won, of course, 37 seconds or 36 ahead of Jonas. Primoz Roglic did the entire climb pretty much in the TT bike skis in his aero posse. He was at 120. Let's not forget who said that Roglic would be coming back in this tour. It was me. Lipowitz, 156. Plapp, 158. Jorgensen, the big talk, no walk at 2 minutes 3. Only Yates, Martinez, Goal was your top 10, and Remco was sort of 238 behind. So pretty good, and it was interesting to see Pog come out on the road bike. Hey, Tommy, he just came out and you just knew he was going to smoke the shit out of this TT.
I know. I didn't know that. I found it really fascinating, though, to see this scenario of obviously the testing that they've come up with. And, they spoke about, maybe the disc was faster or the TT bike was faster. And I think a lot of it boiled down to Pog being like, nah, boys, I can't be fucked riding my TT bike every day after the stage before this race. And I just want to be comfortable. And he obviously, he just went with the road bike, which they would have known all along that he was going to do. And then they had the sanded back bike. They had the no bar tape on the bike as well. They had a lighter stem. They did everything. They didn't even have bottle cages on his bike. So fair play to UAE in Colnago. They went all out on this stage, and it was obviously a really, really good test for all the suppliers of equipment when you have a stage like this. It shows you who does their due diligence and who's keen enough to be in the game. And, the big GC guys, they all would have done their testing on this. And they all sort of bought in. Interesting to see the helmet choices, I thought. A lot of guys not wearing a time trial helmet, where Jonas wore the big Mushroom Cup helmet.
That helmet looks stupid, doesn't it? It just looks ridiculous, it just...
Who cares? If it's faster, who cares?
Just as we're talking about this tech, it's reminded me of two things. One, once I think Ineos started taping the holes in their bars, which used to hold the cables during TTs. This is
I remember this
4 or 5 years ago. And so I remember once...
23 mil tyres.
And I was at this gravel race and I was like looking at my bike and I took my bottle cages off for this gravel TT we did. And I was like, I'm gonna fill those holes up. So I get the tape over the holes, and like there I am. I'm going 18 kilometers an hour and I've taped the old holes up on the bike. And I did the worst performance ever. I sucked. I was getting beaten by old ladies. And I just remember thinking that tape didn't help me at all. And the second thing I remember, Tommy, is Bay Crits 2021, Simon Clark didn't have a contract at that point in the Australian season. So he was riding for BMW, like just a local BMW Geelong. And he was riding a BMC bike. And he painted out the C on the bike, and he's just used tape to tape the W on the bike.
Got to do what you got to do.
It was so bad. So, the technology stuff, it goes a bit crazy. But moving on to, it was a good stage, the TT.
They should have more. I like it.
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool stages, and there's always an element of intrigue of all the tech and the warm ups. I mean, do you see the pictures of Pogacar warming up? It was like he was a meat carcass, hanging up in the freezer, wasn't he? Just with the mist going at him, and he was sprinting, and he had the fans on him. Yeah, it was crazy. The stage 14, Tommy, Ineos. They got their desserts as Tymon Arensman got his stage win solo ahead of Pogacar, just as we saw Remco leave the tour. It was a mixed bag, wasn't it, at this stage?
Yeah, it was. And I picked this one, if you remember correctly, Matt. I can pull out those screenshots where I said Big Arensman's going to get his chocolates on this stage. Big fight for the break. They could have been a little bit more patient, though, some of the guys who were in the break. There were a lot of guys jumping, and they really could have jumped before the Tourmalet. And what was fascinating on this, we saw but Visma sort of shift their focus, didn't we? Kuss got his opportunity. Yates was in the break again. The bees have sort of been set free, haven't they? They've kind of gone, right, we're just going to roll the dice with Jonas and keep him on second. And we're going to try and go after a few more stages. So I thought there was a pretty clear decision there, or at least the opportunity to get guys up the road in case something happens for Jonas. But I wouldn't be surprised to even see them roll the dice tonight and try and go for a stage.
Well, they've been trying to get the break all tour, Visma. They don't care about Vingegaard's GC battles, because he had Simon Yates in the break twice in the first week, and Wout van Aert as well himself in the break in that first week. So they couldn't give a shit about Vingegaard's GC aspirations, but that's their tactics, and maybe we don't understand them. But a good call on Arensman, and I like that Arensman was going for the break and stage wins in this year's Tour de France.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of those riders that if he rode the GC, he could probably scratch an 8th, 9th, 10th around that mark, but then be anonymous.
Maybe at the Giro.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
for the
at
race.
the Giro or the Vuelta. And, he did do the Giro this year as well. So, and he was quite public on record as well at the start of the Giro. He said, the team stuffed up my preparation. Or maybe that was his dad, rather. And it was bizarre commentary for someone who's on a contract there. So,
he's an honest man.
And he also had Rodriguez there in the break. So Ineos, they had the numbers, and it would have been a bit more of a bigger story, in my opinion, if they didn't get the stage win. But it hung in the balance, didn't it, for quite a while. The GC battle just kicked off, and you thought, Pog is going to run over this he's just going to catch him and just roll him in the last couple of kilometers, and the pogging wind machine would just keep going. But It made for an entertaining bit of racing, didn't it? A bit of weather as well throughout, a bit of fog, a bit of wet weather that we saw. that sort of made the day really entertaining. And on a side note, Lipovitz, he was very good, as well as Felix Gall, the Austrian. He had Callum Scottson for support from Decathlon AG2R, and Scottson, that would have to be one of his best rides on paper, helping his leader.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good ride by him. And I just want to come back to Owens, but my point is that when you get these riders that can be inside the top 12, top 13 of a Grand Tour, that means nothing. It's just Tour de France. That is what matters. That is what people remember, not some 9th place, 8th place. Who gives a fuck about that? So I like that Arensman was able to go for that, and he's actually made himself relevant at this tour. And Ineos, they bloody need it. And at the base of that last climb, the Super Bagnes, 12.4K, 7%, Arensman had 3 minutes 30, and he said himself in an interview, he's like, there's no chance. Pog's going to launch and catch me easily. And he didn't end up launching at all, Pogacar. He let Vingegaard do the attacking in this stage. Vingegaard did attack him with 4K to go, so that reeks of someone who has no confidence in his ability. And he thought Pogacar was going to attack him, Vingegaard. So Pogacar played the defensive, and there'd been a few rumblings in the news. I feel like this is a bit more of the media trying to drum this up, but they're trying to create the narrative that Pogacar should let the peloton win a few stages, or the breakaway win some stages. And Niels Pollitt confirmed this in a podcast that he does in German. I can't remember what it's called, but he said that they did, in fact, think about giving a stage away because they didn't want to be too greedy. And he also, Pollitt, confirmed this, that there are riders that UAE have on a blacklist, and that is a no-fly zone. That is a no breakaway attempts allowed for certain riders. So if they attack to try and get the break, UAE will close this down, and Sepp Kuss is one of those.
Well, it didn't work very well yesterday because Kuss was in the break, evidently. So there is a limit to their madness over at UAE. It just goes to show how strong Visma actually are, and even right into the depth of the finale yesterday and onto the final time, Victor Campenaerts was there in a group of 20.
He's been good. Victor Campenaerts has been good. That
was just so impressive. Because otherwise it would have been just Jonas and Matteo, and that would have been it. So he's been very impressive from that team, and I wouldn't be surprised if he plays another big role tonight. Did you think you might see more for the battle for podium? We saw Remco drop out on this stage. That was the biggest talking point here out of this race on our last night's stage.
We'll talk about that.
He had, okay, I'll leave it for now. But it warrants a big discussion. The battle for the podium, isn't it? It's wide open.
It is. There's a window for sure. Now today's stage that we're recording on is stage 15, so that is a very breakaway-esque looking stage. There's so many riders that could win that. It's going to happen as we are talking today, but we don't think there's going to be anything changing too much in the race as they head into the rest day, which will be, of course, on Monday. So we've got a few talking points on our Quad Luck talking points to go through. The GC battle, going to really unpack that a bit more. Remco, we've got to discuss. It's going to happen right after the short plug for Magene. Don't forget, Magene, a fantastic, product manufacturing company. They do power meters, they do heart rate monitors, they do computers, lights, all of them, Tommy.
Have you seen their new power meter they got out? Because we've got the standard power meter that they've come out with, but have you seen the carbon one?
Yes, the P515.
Yeah. Have you got one on order?
And then there's another one coming out, another power meter coming out very soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that as we get into the second half of this podcast. This is Roadside presented by Zwift. Hey, Quad Luck Tour talking points. Use Roadside 10 to get 10% off anything from Quad Luck, and comment on our reel on our Instagram account at Roadside Cycling Podcast. Find the reel for Quad Luck, comment to win $200 voucher. Buy yourself all the goodies. The GC battle as it stands, Tommy, we've got Pogacar in the lead, 4 minutes 13. We've got Vingegaard in second place. We've got Florian Lipowitz at 7:53, Only 9:18, Vaquelon at 10:21, Roglic.
What a ride!
Yes, Gull dupes himself up 12 minutes. Johannesson at 12. Also, Healy, Rodriguez, Jordan Jagat, and O'Connor sort of filling out the top 12. But the question at the top of our list, Tommy, is the battle for yellow over, in your opinion?
Oh, it would have to be serious. Something serious would have to happen, wouldn't it, mate? Like it would have to be crosswinds. Pog has a crash. He gets sick. It's never out of the question. And I kind of think that's where Visma are at with it. And that I thought was a reflection of their tactics last night, where they didn't want to lose more time. They almost looked more concerned about gaining time over Lipovic and Onelli, didn't they? Just in case something happens. So last night, there was still a bit of standoffishness on that final climb up Superbungeneras between Pog and Jonas. But it is day over, isn't it? It is Jova for the battle for yellow. Pog, he just looks imperial. And unless he gets struck down by a non-racing incident or he gets caught out in a crosswind section and the race gets turned on its head, which can still happen, but it's unlikely where they are at the moment. I just feel the race has been sapped. Which, from Pog's view, that's what he wanted. What do you think? Do you think there's an inch? Do you think the door's open at all?
No, the door is not open. I was going to say something. Well, I'd have to edit out there, but the door is definitely closed shut. And I feel like there's actually one more real heavy Mike Tyson straight out of prison punch coming on Vingegaard. I think when we get to the Alps, which of course will be on that Thursday, Friday stage, I feel like that first stage, Pogacar's just go, you know what, I just want to lay down a marker properly here and really just extend the gap. I think we're going to see something crazy then, and then he might just back off for the remainder of the tour. Pogacar, wow, we're witnessing greatness here, and some people get bored of seeing the best rider in the world win all the time. It happens in F1. Some people don't like Max Verstappen winning all the time. I personally do. Some people don't like Cavendish winning all the time, etc. I do, because we're not just watching any rider here. We're watching the best. This is of our era, our generation. We're able to see the best riders ever. We hear all those stories about Merckx. I mean, he's a cheater, with Sean Yates and all these riders that used to dominate back in the day. We didn't see them. We weren't able to see them. But this, Pogacar, he's our rider. He's our rider that we can talk about, the special, the GOAT. And I
how
appreciate
lucky we are. How lucky we are to be able to watch him. And, he will want to win iconic stages coming up. Yes. Speaking of the Monsu stage, he will want to win that stage, put his name in the book. He will go on that.
In yellow, too.
And precisely. And he made some interesting comments in the post-race the other day where he said, I'm not going to see, because he was quizzed about winning and the greed and that side of it. And he was sort of put to him and he said, well, I'm not going to see 90% of the peloton once I retire. I'll be with good friends and family and maybe, close teammates. So I get paid to win. That's what I'll do. And he'll try and help he gets paid to win, but also will want his team to win as well, ultimately. So, he's on 21 stages. He could probably win another 2 or 3 at this year's tour if he really gets after it. If he had a stronger team, if he had Almeida here, he could easily add those on, in my opinion. Yes. So you forget that he's actually riding defensively, which is amazing to think. So it's a frightening thing to look at. And I think it's all more the reason why Visma now are shifting to stage victory, chasing stage, bit of a stage hunting mindset now.
If they're going to win a stage, it'll be with Wout, in my opinion. Battle for third, Tommy. Is it only versus Lipowitz? Because at the moment, it is Lipowitz has he's sitting in third place, the German for Red Bull, and they'll be loving that. He's got a minute 20 gap to Onley, and then he's clear about 3 minutes of Vauquelin, who's kind of in his first ever GC bid. So do you think it's really Onley versus Lipowitz here, or can someone else come from the stands back in those 4th to 5th to 12th position?
No, someone can absolutely come from back in the stands. Lipovic himself in my opinion, Lipovic is 24. I wouldn't be surprised to see Johannesson or even Gal move up. He looks like he was really smooth last night, Felix. He's pretty experienced as well now. He's sort of getting to the sort of closer to the 30 mark for Felix. Lipovic is young, isn't he? Honestly, they're young. I think they still have the capacity of blowing up on a stage, and that is the risk of what they're trying to do. And I think Onelli said it the other night. He went, he went a little bit above his threshold. He paid for it in the end. So he's learning as he goes, so to speak. And I think that's going to be the same with Kevin, Onnerly, as well as Gall. So you look at that, and even Johannesson as well. It is a bit of a shame, isn't it? Because some of the older guys who would have been fighting for GC, like, say, even Rodriguez, O'Connor, Mass, they have just not been there. Particularly Mass, Rodriguez. They haven't had crashes that have hampered their form or anything. It's just
Where
been
is
the
the bin
form.
chicken? Where is he
In
on
the
the
bin.
GC, the bin chicken?
Right
Yeah,
down the
I know
arse,
he's in
my
the bin,
friend.
all right. He's got that
Keep
big beak.
scrolling. It'll take you 10 scrolling. It'll take
he's
you
20th.
10 minutes to
That's
scroll.
He's at 51 minutes, Eric Mass. He's in the bin. His beak is just diving through a plastic bag that's full of KFC, just nipping away the big neck. He has had a stinker. In fact, Movistar really have done absolutely nothing, haven't they? Who's been their best rider so far? Well, that's a good point.
Castrillo's been sort of animated trying to get into breaks, and even Mass the other night, he was working for Pablo to try and battle there. So with no Remco, I still think it's all on for that podium. And even Rog, I wouldn't be surprised to slide through and take it.
Roglic is definitely my smoky to come back in. Now Remco, I think a couple episodes ago I did say that Remco, after that first week, I didn't think he was looking that good at the back end. I sensed there was something wrong with him. I think we will see coming out this week that he has got some sort of illness or something. And Remco leaving the tour was a sad one. It came after three bad days in a row. That is just, once you have two bad days in a row, generally there's something wrong with the body, or perhaps the preparation hasn't been right. And we know that Remco had the shoulder injury that took him out with surgery for the first half of the year. So you do lose a lot there. You lose a whole base. It's tough. And his words after the crash, after DNFing, were of a broken man, someone who's just bemoaning the fact that he couldn't train and to an intensity all year because his body would break down as soon as he got to a certain level. So he was never able to train properly. So Remco, for me, Tommy, should he still be focusing on Grand Tours, because he's had a roller coaster so far in his Grand Tour career?
Yeah, absolutely he should, in my opinion. Absolutely. You look at how much of a classy bike rider he is. I think he's had maybe a tumultuous record with Grand Tours. I think the Vuelta that he won, there wasn't that bigger it wasn't really back-ended with such massive mountain stages, and the stages they were throughout Nevada, that he could control them quite easily. I really think Remco has just had some horrid luck. And I look at it now, and I think he needs to go to a team that is more GC orientated, more than ever. Now more than ever, he needs to be on the move to go to a Red Bull, or in my opinion, he should be making the move to Ineos and getting over there and getting under the Brailsford wing. And they've done it better than anybody else, in my opinion, at being able to build around riders and transforming riders. Like Thomas himself was a classics man who went and won the Tour. Same with Wiggins. So I think they can help him iron out his flaws and at least, minimize them to a certain degree and strengthen, the weapons that he has. So I would think it would be a shame for him to not ride GC. I think he is one of those riders who can challenge Tadej. I honestly do. So.
And I cast everyone's mind back. So far, he's ridden 6 Grand Tours. He started 6 Grand Tours. And do you remember that one they rushed into his first one, 2021 Giro? They had the Strata stage, which I worried about Remco, cracking and falling. He was still nervous. He was so young. They rushed him to that Giro, and he ended up DNFing out of that stage. He then came back the following year, and he won the Vuelta. And then in the next year, he finished 12th in the Vuelta, and he DNF'd the Giro. And that was when he got COVID right after he won the TT, and he was looking $1 million to win.
Won the TT with COVID, didn't he? He thumped everybody.
Right. Remember that interview? He looked like me last week, mate. That's what he looked like. And then, of course, the successful third in the Tour last year. But, I feel like just by looking at him this particular year, I feel like when maybe you can't grab the fitness because you've lost the base because of crashes or illnesses or whatever's happened throughout the year, when the riders can't grab the fitness because they don't have the time on their side when they're training and preparing for a Grand Tour, I feel like the next thing they grab is this low-hanging fruit they think is there, which is the weight dropping. and they get it all wrong. So they don't have the base and the fitness. They know there's not enough time to get their fitness up. So what's the next thing I can actually do to try and make myself improve more? And they go after the weight. And I feel like when you don't have the base fitness and maybe they go too aggressively on the weight dropping, the weight cutting. I think on Remco's side here, this has ruined his tour. I think he's too light, and I don't feel like he's ever performed very well when he's been this light. And I would prefer to see him come at it a bit more stronger. We see Remco with a little bit of muscle mass on him. I'd prefer to see that because I feel like he's gone up the weight and it's let him down at this tour.
Yeah. Oh, look, you know that side of the world better than me, to be honest. But I do know that GC riders, it is just a question mark. But that's something, mate, that you get when you go to a better team. When you go to a team that understands the demands a little bit more, they find the extra 2-3%. And that, have a look at Jorgensen. He was just a heavyweight fella at Movistar. He made the change, and when he was at Movistar, he was doing all these camps by himself. He was buying his own nutrition because it might have been 1% better. And then he went to Visma, and he just transformed himself, and he's come and won Pyrenees twice. So, and he turned into a real key domestique at the biggest race in the world.
He's also been paying for public speaking classes as well. So he's been really digging deep on how to talk shit in the media and then get dropped.
We could be paying for a few of those, mate.
He's paid for how to talk shit and then get shelled out the arse the next stage. But no, you're a good example, and Jorgensen was a perfect example of going to a team that had more resources that could enhance his career aspirations. So 100%, I think we both agree on this, that once Remco does move teams to a more GC-oriented team, whether it's Red Bull or Ineos, he will improve.
Do you think him leaving now, it diminishes value for him, or do you think it actually... the cracks start to split a little bit more now for him at Quick Step, and he goes, mate, this isn't working. With the coach or the team, he goes, no, I need a fresh start. This isn't working for me.
Well, I think, to be honest, I think Remco's bigger than Quick Step. Let's face it. If Remco wasn't in that team, the team would fold. He's bigger than the team. He's that level athlete. He's 25 years old. He's 25 years old. He's got a huge future ahead of him to come, and I feel like it's not going to hurt his aspirations, but he's certainly a rider that needs everything to go right, Tommy.
Yeah, he is, and he's up against some of the best in the world. But just quickly on it, he has won one stage. Yes, he won the TT. Milier's won 2 stages. Milier's brought more success now for that team that they can sort of wrap up the tour and go, yep, no worries. We've had an incredibly successful, and he only needed one other bloke. So I look at that and I go, wow, what could he do? Could he have won that first stage if he had a better team? If he had more riders? It's always the risk of the gamble, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And what other riders could they bring into the team, to be fair? Quick Step. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one, and always that GC versus sprint aspiration. So watch this space. Let us know what you think as well about Remco. What do you think's next for him? Is he going to move to Red Bull? Is he going to go to Ineos? Will he stay with Quick Step? And should he continue fighting for GCs when it seems like he maybe needs to work out the process of how to set up first? But what about the rumour file, Tommy? The FE Sports rumour file. We mentioned the Intermarché Lotto merger. I do love a little rumors, but we break news here. We break rumours here.
My word. Are we... I've got absolutely no reply to that. The breakers are over there. They're doing it. You can carry on like you're Mitch Cleary. You're more of a Tom Robertson operator. But yes, Intermarché Lotto, hey? You reckon this is going to occur, and you reckon Biniam Gramet is not keen to stay?
Well, this is, as it stands, there's an inside word that I have from Lotto, right? I've got an inside word here at Lotto, and this source has been rock solid ever since, right? And here's how it's going to look. The Intermarché Lotto merger, basically how it's going to look. Lotto will have the license, so it will be a Lotto team with Intermarché merging into Lotto. Now, what happens with Intermarché's their license? Well, their aim for the end of this year, so my sources said, is that they want to try and win their spot into the World Tour, and then be able to, once the merger goes ahead, they will sell their World Tour license to the highest bidding Pro Tour team before that happens. That's right. So they need to guarantee it this year into Marche, and then they will sell that, obviously, before they merge. And in that scenario, all of the Intermarché riders would become free agents in 2026. So, of course, with Lotto being the keeping the license, all their staff remain. They will remain on Orbea bikes, which are reportedly giving around €2 million per season. And that leaves a lot of talent on the line at Intermarché with no contracts and can shop the market. And, of course, Gourmet would be one of them, as many. And apparently Astana are really, and I'm sure there's so many teams that would love Gourmet, but Astana are the ones that are throwing some inquiries their way.
Oh, mate, they're throwing emails at everybody. Next thing you know, they've got Groenewegen, they've got Malia, they've got Milan in their inbox, aren't they, Astana? They're desperate. They're desperate for a team. They're desperate for a big sprinter, aren't they? So
yeah, they are. They are.
I've got everyone there in terms of the lead out capacity at Astana. So I feel for some of the riders at Intermarché. You know, a lot of riders would just be waiting for this to get resolved, or they would be on the front foot with their agents being like, find me a ride and find me one now, because there will be some riders hung out to dry who will, you know, ultimately get bumped down to sort of Pro Series or even Conti level teams just to get a ride for next year. And my next question as well, Jet, was obviously August the 1st is where we see the transfer window officially open, but all the deals are done. I'm keen to see some of the signings. They just get wheeled out at 12:01 a.m. and the push notification comes up, and it's you know, Dylan Groenewegen, he's off to Astana or someone else. And I'm keen to see who's the biggest first name. Yes, precisely. Who's the first name to go? So
we'll do a transfer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
And there's a few, just some of the names that could be up for grabs here from Intermarché and their team. Of course, we know Gourmet, but they also have Louis Mentis. Yes, they have Hugo Page, who's a very good rider. Lauren Rex, Adrian Petit, who's really good in the cobbles. Jonas Ruch is a very strong rider. Taco van der Horn is there. And yes, Jorg Zimmerman is another really good rider for those breakaways. So, yeah, plenty there to play with. The Ineos saga is still rumbling on with the Rosman sort of doping alleged scandal.
This is turning into a debacle for the team, isn't it?
It is. It's so bad they have not responded. The Times have also written an article about this, piling in onto the Paul Kimmage article. Brailsford is getting very, very frustrated at the team bus now. Reporters are coming to him. Yesterday he went after stage 15 with Arensman. He was told that he wouldn't answer any questions about non-racing news by the Ineos staff members. They said, don't ask Arensman any questions about this. They still did, like proper journalists should with a story like this. And Arensman said, you know, you need to speak to the team. You need to speak to the team. And Chris Marshall-Bell actually followed up, a very, a good journalist. He said, well,
elite
we've
operator.
Talked to the team. Yeah, he said, well, we've talked to the team and they won't answer us. And Arensman said, well, that's actually pretty weird. I don't know why they wouldn't answer you. So it's really bubbling up. Brailsford said, oh, fuck's sake, the other day as he stormed back into the bus. He's really come back to Ineos and he's been greeted. And I'm sure the timing that Paul Kimmage has done this article as Brailsford returned is no accident. So this keeps rolling on and we'll keep tabs on it and see how it goes. But Tommy, final words before we end today's pod, mate. What's been happening? Your Zwift bike, is that up?
Mate, I built it. I built my Zwift Ride over this weekend, and really easy to build. Honestly, like I was genuinely shocked at how I threw the instructions out like some absolute Garys do, and I went, I don't need these. And I genuinely, I actually didn't. So now I'm set up, mate. I'm keen to get some pedals on it and give it a bit of a go after this pod, maybe while the stage is running tonight or tomorrow night. I'm keen to see the breakaway go to the line across the next week. If Pog's got such a dominant hand on yellow, that's what I want to see at the tour, mate. So, yeah, yourself, mate, you got out on the gravel over this weekend. Megan towed you around for a few hours.
I did a little bit of gravel. I've got the Backroads State Gravel Championships coming up in a few weeks' time. I've got a 188k ride to do next Saturday, actually. We've got to ride out to Beverly. But I'm just going to read out my ride the other day because I finished the Climb Portal Challenge on Zwift. So pretty happy about that. But my last one I had to do...
numbers going up?
Well, I had to do the Col de la Madeleine. That was the last one I had to do. So it was about a 30-kilometer ride, 1,200 meters or 1,100 meters. And here's my stats for you, Tommy. I just put on a little workout, did a bit of zone 2. I did a 2.6 watts per kilo, average heart rate, 139. So I'm cruising, mate. I'm just cruising. I sat in there.
You'd hope so with that watts per kilo. Yeah.
Hey, mate, you ride once a week. You know, I'm happy with that, mate. You can't even build your bloody Zwift rides. I know what you're talking about.
Wrap it up. I need to go to bed.
All right. Tommy's going to go